Hello and welcome. We are live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. Israel PM says conflict could end tomorrow if Hamas lays down their arms and return all hostages. US President hails Sinwar death, says it's time to move on. Hezbollah announces new escalating phase in conflict with Israel, says a large-scale attack is imminent. North Korean leader calls South Korea a foreign and hostile country, says road blast mark end of evil relationship with South. And India's President Draupadi Murmu to hold bilateral talks with Malawi leadership on strengthening ties between the two nations. We'll start with the big news. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu late on Thursday said that the killing of Hamas chief Yahya Sinwar was the beginning of the end of the war in Gaza. Speaking after the military confirmed it had killed Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, Netanyahu said there could be an end to the war in Gaza if Hamas laid down their arms and returned all hostages.
Yahya Sinwar is dead. He was killed in Rafah by the brave soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces. While this is not the end of the war in Gaza, it's the beginning of the end. To the people of Gaza, I have a simple message. This war can end tomorrow. It can end if Hamas lays down its arms and returns our hostages.
And confirming the assassination of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant calls on Hamas fighters to release the hostages and surrender.
The state of Israel has brought justice with the elimination of Yahya Sinwar, a wild murderer and terrorist. Yahya Sinwar is the terrorist, the master terrorist, who planned and carried out the 7th of October massacre, during which so many innocent Israelis were murdered: children, women, and the elderly.
And the death of the architect of the October 7 attack on Israel last year represents a major boost to the Israeli military. It released a video of moment just before Hamas chief Sinwar's death. An Israeli army spokesperson, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, said there were no signs that Israeli hostages had been present in the building.
Our work is not done. We will not rest until we bring home all our hostages by any means. And we will continue to operate until we complete all our missions in defense of the people of Israel.
And US President Joe Biden hailed Israel's killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar as a good day for the world. Talking to media at Berlin airport, Biden said there was now an opportunity to move on to a ceasefire in Gaza.
It's a good day for the world. I called these now to congratulate him getting Sinwar. He had a lot of blood in his hands. American blood, Israeli blood, and others. And I told him that we were really pleased with his actions. And further that now's the time to move on. Move toward a ceasefire in Gaza. Make sure that we move in the direction that we're going to be in a position to make things better for the whole world. It's time for this war to end and bring these hostages home.
And terming the death of Hamas chief a turning point, French President Emmanuel Macron said it offered a crucial opportunity to end Israel-Hamas conflict in Gaza. Speaking at a press conference after meeting with other EU leaders at a summit in Brussels, Macron said this occasion should be seized upon so that all hostages can be freed and so that the war can be finally stopped.
This day is a turning point, as well as a military success for Israel. I think, as I say to the Israeli families of October 7, this occasion should be seized upon so that all hostages can be freed and so that the war can finally be stopped. Indeed, it is necessary to put an end to military operations and after this result, accept a ceasefire in Gaza to finally open a credible political perspective for both Israelis and Palestinians.
And Hezbollah has meanwhile announced a new and escalating phase of its conflict with Israel. In a statement early on Friday, the terror group said the Islamic Resistance Operations Room had decided Israel will be targeted in the coming days. The statement reads, Hezbollah announces a transition to a new and escalatory phase in the confrontation with the Israeli enemy, which will be reflected in the developments and events of the coming days. The announcement came after the Israeli military on Thursday said his forces killed Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, which is a Hezbollah ally. The statement, however, made no mention of the Hamas chief. All right, we'll go across to my colleague Akshay Dongre. He is joining us live from Delhi. Akshay, the killing of Yahya Sinwar, who had been top of Israel's most wanted list, is a deeply significant moment in the war in Gaza. And Israel has confirmed and says war can end. We heard Joe Biden to Emmanuel Macron also. Any comments from Hamas?
Well, no, Abhishek. So far, we do not even have a confirmation about the death of Yahya Sinwar from Hamas. However, the confirmation has come from the Israeli Defense Forces, the Israeli Prime Minister, in fact, even from the US President, Joe Biden, that Yahya Sinwar has been killed in the military operations that have been carried out by Israel yesterday. Now, we are actually looking at what can be possibly a turning point in this bloody conflict that has been going on for over 1 year now. So we have to look at it from 2 points of view. First would be the Israeli point of view, that the kind of operations that they have carried out against Hamas. They had killed Ismail Haniyeh in the month of August, and it has been only just 2 months that Yahya Sinwar had taken over as the chief of Hamas. In fact, he had taken over as the chief of Politburo of Palestine in the Gaza Strip, and now within 2 months of him taking over as the head of Hamas, he also has been killed by the Israeli airstrikes that took place in that particular region. No hostages were present here. That has been said by the Israeli Defense Forces. However, the demand that has been made by the Israeli Defense Forces that the operation will continue and will only end once the hostages are returned and Hamas surrenders the arms. So it is a total victory that Israel is expecting after the consecutive killings of the Hamas leadership, be it Ismail Haniyeh or now Yahya Sinwar. So one thing has become aptly clear, that the military or the offensive capabilities that Israel has have been yielding a lot of success in the past few months. In fact, not just in Hamas, but also in southern Lebanon, where Hezbollah has been on the target. Hezbollah chief was also killed just a few days back. Clearly signifies that the Israeli Defense Forces have maintained and rather have fortified their upper hand in this particular conflict. But the end of conflict, whether this is an end of conflict or it is a turning point, as it is being said by the Western leadership, that still remains a very big question, because it is highly unlikely that immediately after the killing of the Hamas chief, the fighters of Hamas that are operating from the Gaza Strip or the Hezbollah that is operating out of southern Lebanon is going to lay down their arms and surrender to the Israeli Defense Forces. We saw these kind of expectations coming in after the killing of Ismail Haniyeh, and now once again after the death of Yahya Sinwar, that the Israeli Defense Forces are expecting for the conflict to end. But yet it remains highly unlikely that anything of that sort is coming in the next few days.
Can it change the scenario also, Akshay? What does Sinwar's death mean for the future of Hamas and Gaza? And how could Sinwar's death change the scenario?
Well, the only thing that is likely to change now, Abhishek, is the head of Hamas is going to be replaced by some other leader. There is no dearth of leaders again when it comes to Hamas, when it comes to the offensive capabilities or the organization as a whole. But we can expect Hamas to be more willing to negotiate on certain grounds, because this total annihilation of the Hamas leadership has been, in fact, a big blow to the capabilities of Hamas. Now, more than ever, Israel maintains a massive upper hand when it comes to this conflict, and it will be more aggressive when it comes to making demands that Hamas surrenders now all of its arms when it comes to the Gaza Strip. They are making a unilateral demand that hostages should be returned, and that the Hamas fighters that are present in the region, in the area, they lay down their arms. But yet again, Abhishek, we have seen this after the death of Hezbollah chief, the former Hamas chief, and now Yahya Sinwar as well, that this is further going to escalate the conflict, and it is highly unlikely that after the death of its chief, Hamas will be willing to step back from this conflict. Only what it means, or what it shows from what we have seen in the past months of the conflict, Hamas is going to try an all-out effort to get back to Israel, to seek revenge once again with a new head at the top. Given the fact that it's not just Hamas or Hezbollah that are fighting the war, it has many layers. It has Iranian support. It has support of other countries, other proxies that are operating from the area. So it remains to be seen that what is going to be a conclusion of this conflict.
All right, Akshay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for inputs. Moving on, tensions on the Korean Peninsula have reached a new high as North Korean leader Kim Jong Un declared South Korea a hostile state. This follows a constitutional amendment that formally drops the goal of reunifying the two Koreas. Speaking at the Second Corps headquarters on Thursday, Kim emphasized the growing threat from the South Korea-US alliance and the enhanced military maneuvers, calling for a stronger North Korean nuclear deterrent. North Korea has a blasted road and rail links with the South, signaling not just the physical severing of ties, but what Kim calls the end of evil relationship with Seoul. He declared this marks the complete removal of any hope for reunification, pushing forward a two-state system. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Battleground state North Carolina starts early in-person voting while recovering from Hurricane Helene. In a bid to end fighting, US President Joe Biden arrives in Berlin to discuss Middle East conflicts. And in an unprecedented political saga, Kenya's deputy president impeached on 5 of 11 charges.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Polls opened for early voting on Thursday in the presidential battleground of North Carolina, just weeks after Hurricane Helene left some residents still without power, running water and phone service. North Carolina could be crucial in determining a winner in the U.S. presidential race, as its voting preferences could swing either way. Supporters of both Harris and Trump were vocal as Hurricane Helene, which killed more than 200 people across 6 states, has sparked questions on how it might impact voter turnout. Polls show a very tight race with a handful of swing states likely to determine the winner, as Trump and Harris are in a dead heat in North Carolina. A survey showed Trump with 48% support in state polls as compared to Harris, who has got 47.5% support. Meanwhile, during a campaign event in La Crosse in Wisconsin on Thursday, U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris lambasted former President Donald Trump for calling January 6th, when his supporters stormed the Capitol to try to overturn his 2020 defeat, a day of love.
So now we here know January 6th was a tragic day. It was a day of terrible violence. There were attacks on law enforcement. 140 law enforcement officers were injured. Some were killed. And what did Donald Trump say last night about January 6th? He called it a, quote, a day of love. But it points out something that everyone here knows. The American people are exhausted with his gaslighting. Exhausted with his gaslighting. Enough! We are ready to turn the page.
Further, Harris said that the U.S. election is going to be a tight race until the very end at a rally in Green Bay in Wisconsin.
Green Bay, we have 19 days until Election Day. 19 days. So we are entering the home stretch. And this is going to be a tight race until the very end. Look, we are the underdog, and that's why we are, and I am campaigning to earn every single vote, because I intend to be a president for all Americans.
Tesla CEO, ex-owner and billionaire Elon Musk hit the campaign trail for Donald Trump in Pennsylvania on Thursday, mobilizing Trump voters ahead of Election Day on November 5th. And while addressing the rally, Musk emphasized that Pennsylvania is important to the future of the world and is going to decide the fate of America. He has taken a sharp turn to the right this election, as he has voted for Democratic presidential candidates in the past. Musk endorsed Trump in July and has donated nearly $75 million to Trump-aligned groups.
The ones that resonate, for me at least, are...
All right, let's go across to DD India correspondent Amritpal Singh is joining us live from San Francisco, and Shubhendu is in New York. Amritpal, I'll come to you first. 3 weeks left in the presidential campaign. Trump's rally in California a few days ago drew significant attention, and he drew a large crowd, but it took place in the Democratic-leaning state. Tell us, how's the atmosphere there in San Francisco? What are people saying? And looks like Trump has some hope there.
I don't know if Trump has a hope here, because California for the past 50 years has been a blue state. It has voted for the Democrats, and that's not to say that the Republicans don't have a voter base here. They do have a voter base. They get votes. But in the U.S., how the system works is if you only leave 2 states of Maine and Nebraska, the rest of the states, if win more than half the seats, the whole state goes that way. Say there are 54 seats in California. So if either of the candidates takes 28 seats, 27 being the half mark, all the 54 seats of the Electoral College go to that particular political party. So even if he has a support base here, but if the Democrats outnumber that, then the whole state goes blue for the past 45 years. That's been a trend. It used to be a red state very, very long back, but it's been consistently a blue state and been voting for Democrats. But yes, of course, there are Republicans here. And the issue of black male voters slipping away as one from Kamala Harris or the Democrats is an issue, and therefore we saw her roll out policy SOPs just before the elections. Abhishek?
All right, Amritpal, stay with us. I'll come back to you. Shubhendu, with last-minute appeals to voters, how's the buzz there in New York? What are people saying? Shubhendu, are you there with us?
Abhishek, good evening to you and the viewers from New York. Well, traditionally, as you would know, that New York has been a blue state in support of the Democrats. Yes, I am. We are talking about New York and the manner in which it has been traditionally a blue state, as I mentioned, Abhishek, and supporting the Democrats. But we also see an outreach being made by Donald Trump to the Democrats, the issues that impact United States, different states of the United States also impact New York. But particularly one issue is the issue of illegal immigration and the migrant crisis. It's said that about 11 million was the number of illegal immigrants recorded in 2022. There was a greater influx of immigrants from unstable countries in South America, also Africa, and New York was one of the worst impacted states with these migrants. Some 200,000 people had to be accommodated, puts a great pressure on resources of an already saturated and dynamic city and state. So in that sense, that issue is on the top of people's mind, and we see the leaders also addressing this concern. Well, Donald Trump puts the blame on the migrants. Kamala Harris says that it is the system that needs repair. Abhishek?
Stay on, Shubhendu. I'll come back to you. Meanwhile, Amritpal, and Kamala Harris interview on Fox News, she did face some tough questions on Joe Biden, immigration, economy, and how she'll turn the page. Trump has also reacted.
That's right. I mean, that was quite a bold decision on part of Kamala Harris to go to Fox News and, take those tough questions, more than tough questions. It was sparring, interrupting at regular intervals by the anchor Brett Baer. In fact, she had to, though she is quite an herself quite an effective practitioner of filibuster, but Brett Baer really took her case and ragged her there. But to be fair to Kamala, she took it on the chin and tried to answer questions, ranging from, as you said, Joe Biden to immigration, etc., and saying that, I'll turn the page and it'll be a different administration. It wouldn't be a continuation of Joe Biden's term, clearly trying to distance herself in a certain way, walking a thin line there from the anti-incumbency baggage of Joe Biden. But she also attacked Donald Trump. Trump's understandably reacted to it, saying that she has a massive, irredeemable syndrome, anti-Donald Trump, anti-Trump syndrome, or a deranged Trump syndrome. And she can't talk about anybody except me, anything except me. So he's taken on her, saying that, well, she has no agenda of her own. She's just trying to, her claim to the bid to power is based on anti-Trumpism. But that was understandable. In fact, he congratulated Brett Baer, writing on Social Truth, saying Brett Baer did a good job. It was indeed an explosive interview there. Abhishek?
All right. Thank you for the time being, Amritpal. Yes, but we'll keep taking updates from you. Shubhendu, Trump is in New York to attend Al-Smith dinner. Tell us, what is so important about this dinner and why Kamala Harris not attending is a big deal?
Well, Abhishek, the Alfred Smith dinner is one of those traditional occasions when adversaries also sit together, even crack a joke or two in this very tense political season. But it seems that for the first time in 40 years, one candidate is not going to be there participating in this, especially it's a Catholic charity dinner named after former New York Governor Alfred Smith. Now, Kamala Harris has said that she is busy campaigning in Wisconsin, that the plans were laid out much in advance and therefore she possibly can't make it for this dinner. Donald Trump has used this occasion to launch fresh attack on Kamala Harris, calling her anti-Catholic and also saying that this is disrespectful to the community. It is an occasion for leaders to really take on a lighter note, take on one another. This is a dinner when the leaders are allowed to crack jokes in a lighter note, but that, it seems, is going to be missed in this season when very, very passionate attacks are being launched by the Republicans and Democrats against one another, led by, of course, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. In that sense, we also see Donald Trump making an important outreach to very strong Democrats, very strong blue states like New York. The impact of it we'll, of course, get to know once the people go out to vote and the election results come out. But an important traditional dinner and both the adversaries together on the same table will be missed. It's only going to be Donald Trump is what we're hearing for now.
All right, Shubhendu, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs from New York. As Donald Trump and Kamala Harris clashed for the White House in the US presidential elections, voters are keen to find out which of the two candidates offer a better economic road ahead for the nation. DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh has filed this exclusive report from Wall Street, New York.
We are at the iconic Wall Street in New York. It is considered as an epicenter of global trade and economy, home to major financial institutions. Right behind me, you can see the New York Stock Exchange. There is, of course, the Fed Reserve and major banks. As United States prepares to elect its new president, state of the economy is taking center stage. Some 81% of registered voters say that economy is going to play a key role in deciding who they're going to vote for. As the campaigning for US presidential elections enters the final phase, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris continue to project themselves as the best candidate to take the US economy on the growth trajectory. Trump is focused on the idea of US dominance over foreign competitors like China. His economic plan has largely focused on deregulation in the energy and financial industries, touting the much better inflation during his presidency than Biden's. Vice President Kamala Harris has pledged to build an economy that is both pro-business and helps the middle class, as she pushed back against Trump's claims that she is advancing communist ideas. I speak to Professor Suresh Naidu, an economist from Columbia University, to understand the situation on the ground.
I think a single one that's both real and perceived is the high price of housing, particularly in core metropolitan cities like New York, like San Francisco, like Chicago. And so that issue of the high price of housing, I think, is a real one, as well as high prices of sort of other things like healthcare and education. But, you know, I will also say that for and those are long-term kind of structural things. There's another perception of inflation, and the inflation was very real and very persistent, but it's also the case that wages rose for most workers in a rate that outpaced inflation. So I think and if you look, you'll see that perceptions of inflation are also highly correlated with your party. So Republicans think that there was much more inflation than Democrats do.
The policies debated in election campaigns have implications not just at home, but for the global economy and partner countries like India as well.
As Trump has made a statement that he will have tariffs put in, yes, India will get impacted. But then what happens is India also is importing substantial amount of goods and services from US. So there could be a reciprocity. And I think putting tariff does not help economies. It hurts the consumer on both sides.
The ball is now in the court of voters who will decide the best candidate to take the reins of the world's most powerful economy. With camera person Jai Shankar, Shubhendu Ghosh's report for DD India in New York.
US President Joe Biden arrived in Berlin on Thursday for a rapid visit to discuss Russia's invasion of Ukraine with the leaders of Germany, France and Britain as Kiev urges its Western allies to take urgent steps to end the fighting. Biden had originally been scheduled to convene a broader meeting of Ukraine's military supporters at the US Ramstein Air Base in Germany last week during a planned 3-day state visit to the country that would have been the first in nearly 40 years. He cancelled that trip to focus on dealing with Hurricane Milton, but is making up for it with a quick visit this week. The president will hold bilateral talks on Friday with Germany's president and chancellor before a planned meeting with the European Quad in the noon time. And Kenya's Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was ousted from office on Thursday after being impeached in an unprecedented political saga that has gripped the nation. In a historic move, the Senate voted to impeach Gachagua on 5 of 11 charges after a similar motion was overwhelmingly approved by the lower house National Assembly last week. The vote capped a day of high drama, which saw the embattled 59-year-old known as Rigiji fail to testify in his defense after being admitted to hospital with severe chest pains. He is the first deputy president to be sacked in this manner since impeachment was introduced in Kenya's revised 2010 constitution. Gachagua was found guilty on charges of gross violation of the constitution, including threatening judges and practicing ethnically divisive politics, but cleared of others, including corruption and money laundering. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Sea phase of joint naval drill exercise Malabar in Bay of Bengal to conclude today. 10 social media handles suspended for issuing hoax bomb threat to airliners. And nomination for first phase of assembly elections in India's eastern state of Jharkhand to begin today.
Today's episode was all about unique ideas that help us adapt to this new world where so much around us is changing.
We are forming communities to practice regenerative farming and learn how to control these problems naturally.
We have invested in a new battery park to stabilize it, and that makes it also easier for us to phase in renewables like wind and sun.
We're developing some AI tools which use imagery in our grow rooms. They can monitor them on a 24-hour basis, and they help us understand the prime time for picking so that we harvest those mushrooms at the perfect time of ripeness.
I have been using Ravichandran's vermicompost and have had good yields. Now I have used it for this 2-acre maize field. I'm planning to use it continuously. So far, the yield is good and the crops are doing well.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of what we have done so far. Israel PM says conflict could end tomorrow if Hamas lay down their arms and return all hostages. US President hails Sinwar death, says it's time to move on. Hezbollah announces new escalating phase in conflict with Israel, says a large-scale attack is imminent. North Korean leader calls South Korea a foreign and hostile country, says road blast mark end of evil relationship with South. India's President Draupadi Murmu to hold bilateral talks with Malawi leadership to strengthen ties between the two nations. India's President Draupadi Murmu is currently on a 3-day state visit in Malawi till October 19th, where she will be meeting political and business leaders to strengthen further the ties with the African nation.
President Draupadi Murmu, who arrived on a 3-day state visit to the Southeast African country Malawi on Thursday, will hold bilateral meetings with the state leadership and other dignitaries to focus on issues to improve trade and economic activities between the two countries. Soon after arrival, President Murmu addressed the India-Malawi Business Roundtable, where she said that both countries can come together to find synergy in many ways.
मुझे ये जानकर भी प्रसन्नता हो रही है कि भारत के बिजनेस कम्युनिटी का एक व्यापार प्रतिनिधि मंडल भी मलावी के दौर पे आए हैं और मैं आशा करती हूँ कि वे हमारे व्यापार और आर्थिक संबंधों में विस्तार करेंगे। हमारे सहयोग के मुख्य स्तंभ डेवलपमेंट पार्टनरशिप, कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग, व्यापार और आर्थिक सहयोग, रक्षा, सुरक्षा और लोगों से लोगों का संपर्क है।
She is expected to hold bilateral talks with Malawi's President, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, on strengthening Malawi-India relations. Addressing the Indian diaspora on Thursday evening, President Murmu praised the Indian community in Malawi for their significant contribution to the country's society and economy. She praised them for being a virtual connection between the two countries.
प्रवासी भारतीयों ने मलावी में विभिन्न सामाजिक और व्यावसायिक क्षेत्रों में महत्वपूर्ण योगदान दिया है।
This visit is the last leg of President Murmu's week-long 3-nation visit to Algeria, Mauritania and Malawi, with a focus on improving trade and bilateral relationships in the African region. The visit also comes exactly a year after the African Union was inducted in the G20 group during India's presidency last year.
Malawi is one of the few countries in the African continent which does not have a history of conflict or a war. In fact, it is one of the most stable and safest nations for investors. While India and Malawi are already trading partners, President Draupadi Murmu's visit to Malawi is only going to add strength to this economic relationship between the two countries. With camera person Sandeep in Lilongwe, Malawi, Amit Mukherjee for DD India.
And in yet another sharp response following Canadian PM Justin Trudeau's admission of having no hard evidence against India, India has held Trudeau responsible for damaging India-Canada ties. On Thursday, India's Foreign Ministry rebuffed PM Trudeau's claim, citing pending 26 extraditions request, marking a significant escalation in the ongoing diplomatic tensions. Meanwhile, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau continues to face flack not only from India but also back home. Details in this report.
We have made our position very clear on this particular matter. Yesterday, we had again issued a statement saying that Canada has leveled serious allegations but has so far not given any evidence to back it up. As regards our stance on the allegations, we will naturally reject false imputations against our diplomats. We had summoned the Acting High Commissioner of Canada, and thereafter conveyed that we had no faith that the Canadian government will look after the safety of our diplomats.
On Thursday, once again, the External Affairs Ministry of India hit back at Canada, mincing no words on unsubstantiated allegations levelled by Canadian government and calling them politically motivated. This comes close on the heels of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau being subjected to intense media scrutiny back home for failing to provide any credible evidence on alleged involvement of Indian diplomats in killing of Canadian extremist Hardeep Singh Nijjar in June 2023. While exposing the inaction of the Canadian administration, India's Ministry of External Affairs revealed the names of anti-India elements openly espousing extremism, violence and separatist ideology. According to India's Foreign Ministry, there are at least 26 extradition requests pending from the Canadian side.
There are 26 extradition requests pending with the Canadian side. These are over the last decade or more. Along with it, there are several provisional arrest requests which are also pending with the Canadian side of several criminals. Some of the notable ones who've been charged with terror and related crimes, I would like to name them. They are Gurjeet Singh, Gurjinder Singh, Gurpreet Singh, Lakhbir Singh Landa and Arshdeep Singh Gill.
Prime Minister Trudeau's close ally, Member Parliament Jagmeet Singh, staged a walkout from a presser while failing to answer a pointed question on imposition of sanctions on India. This has forced a larger question on the intent and nature of these acquisitions, precipitating the diplomatic crises between India and Canada further. While India sticks to its stance, Prime Minister Trudeau testifying before Canada's Foreign Interference Inquiry with just intelligence and not hard evidentiary proof clearly puts his credibility and the credibility of these serious acquisitions on India in a serious dock. Sakal Bhatt's report for DD India.
And with an aim to focus on enhancing bilateral trade relations, promoting India as a global investment hub and participating in crucial multilateral economic discussions, Union Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs Nirmala Sitharaman is in Mexico and US visit. This visit comes at a time when India is actively seeking to strengthen its economic ties with global partners and position itself as a significant player in the global financial landscape. In Mexico, the finance minister chaired the Tech Leaders Roundtable at the Chamber of Commerce and highlighted that rapid transformation that has been taking place in India while working towards the goal of Viksit Bharat in 2047. And following her engagements in Mexico, Sitharaman will travel to the US, where she will attend the IMF World Bank annual meetings in Washington, D.C. And the sea phase of exercise Malabar, the naval drill featuring the navies of India, the US, Australia and Japan to conclude on Friday. Naval warships embarked integral helicopters and long-range maritime patrol aircraft from the four countries are exercising in unison in the Bay of Bengal as part of the exercise. It began on Monday off the coast of Visakhapatnam. The participating navies are engaged in a wide range of maritime warfare operations covering the surface, subsurface and air warfare domains. According to Defence Ministry, this phase of naval drills will further strengthen interoperability between the participating nations and contribute towards enhancing regional security and stability in the Indo-Pacific. Intensifying its probe on the hoax bomb threats received by several domestic and international flights in India, about 10 social media handles were suspended or blocked by cyber security agencies till now. As per official, these handles were analyzed by a joint team of cyber, aviation security and intelligence agencies, following which orders were issued to suspend these accounts as they continue to issue mindless threats. Earlier on Wednesday, Delhi police registered an FIR in connection with the bomb threat to Bengaluru-bound Kasa air flight carrying 180 people and also launched a probe in 7 other similar cases reported at Indira Gandhi International Airport this month. Now, ahead of the assembly election in the eastern state of Jharkhand, filing for nomination for the first phase will commence today. 25th October is the last day of filing of nomination papers, whereas scrutiny of nominations will be on 28th October. The last day for the withdrawal of candidature is 30th of this month. Polling for the first phase of the polls will be on 13th November in 43 assembly constituencies, while the second phase polling will take place on 20th November. The counting of votes will be undertaken on 23rd November. Now, Vision 2030 of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia seeks to build on the strong bonds between expatriate communities in Saudi Arabia and the Saudi society. Under this vision, Saudi Arabia has launched a Global Harmony Initiative. So how is the spirit of integration and harmony evident in bilateral cooperation in the education sector? DD India's Munman Bhattacharya reports from Riyadh.
An Indian school in the heart of Riyadh. The students that you see here are wards of members of the vibrant and sizable Indian community residing in the capital of Saudi Arabia. Some students can be seen outside their classrooms, some playing basketball and some badminton. While this was the first franchisee of Delhi Public School that was established in 2004 in this Arab country, the foundation of the first Indian international school in Saudi Arabia was laid way back in 1982. This was after the Saudis allowed the opening of such schools for students of the Indian diaspora and gave Indian authorities a free hand to run them. Schools like this one are run by the Indian community and are supported by the Indian Embassy. They are CBSE affiliated and follow CBSE guidelines laid out in India. Teachers that teach in these schools are qualified professionals that belong to the Indian community. Some Arabs teach here too.
The Saudi Arabian government and especially the Ministry of Education, they encourage Indians to open schools and they extend all kind of facilities and services to these schools. Particularly, they have allowed the female teachers to be employed by the schools, which was not the case earlier. So that has come as a big relief to the Indian diaspora schools.
Today, there are 38 Indian schools affiliated to CBSE in Saudi Arabia. Together, they cater to nearly 100,000 Indian students. These schools come under the umbrella of the Saudi chapter of CBSE. One of them, India International School Dammam, had even made it to the Guinness Book of World Records for enrolling the highest number of students at 18,000 in any secondary school in India or abroad. But the COVID-19 pandemic led to a dip in numbers 5 years ago. Today, the numbers have picked up again. Such cooperation between India and Saudi Arabia bodes well for the welfare of the Indian community in this Arab country.
The school that you see behind me is an international private school from India, DPS Riyadh. It stands testimony to the growing educational cooperation between India and Saudi Arabia. This is also a projection of a changing Saudi Arabia, which is more integrated with the outside world, particularly with friendly countries like India. With cameraman Pramod Negi, this is Munmun Bhattacharya from Riyadh for DD India.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. Netflix adds millions of subscribers but cautions about slowing growth in the upcoming months due to increasing competition. And South Africa stuns defending champions Australia by 8 wickets to reach the finals of ICC Women's World Cup 2024. And we'll bring you glimpses of Indian culture as Indian Week begins at Riyadh season 2024.
Always welcoming. The vibe of Punjab is larger than life. Warm up to grandeur that's beyond compare. And history that's dotted with tales of bravery. Smiling soul of India, where music, art, cuisine and culture comes together to create an unforgettable impression. Punjab is all set to win your hearts with its unique and colorful extravaganza.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Business updates now. The European Central Bank cut interest rates on Thursday for the first time this year, saying inflation in the Eurozone was increasingly under control, while the outlook for the bloc's economy was worsening. The Frankfurt-based institution reduced rates by a quarter point following a cut of the same size at its last meeting in September. The quarter point cut brings the rate that ECB pays on banks' deposit down to 3.25%. Netflix announced on Thursday that it added over 5 million new subscribers in the most recent quarter, bringing the total number of global subscribers to over 247 million. However, the streaming giant cautioned about slowing growth in the upcoming months, attributing it to increasing competition and challenges in retaining subscribers amid a surge in new streaming services. Despite the addition of new content and the introduction of an ad-supported tier, Netflix anticipates a more tempered increase in subscriptions moving forward, particularly in saturated markets like the US and Europe. All right, sports updates now. We'll start with cricket. India were bundled out for a dismal 46, which is their worst total on home soil, as New Zealand's fast bowlers ran amok in overcast conditions. The tourists got to 180 for the loss of 3 wickets, had stumps on the second day of the rain-hit opening test on Thursday. New Zealand swelled their lead to 134 runs and will eye a big total to improve their chances of a first victory over India in the country since 1988. And Anik Bosch powered South Africa into the ICC Women's T20 World Cup 2024 final with a commanding 74, leading her side to an 8-wicket victory over defending champion Australia. South Africa skipper Woolward won the toss and opted to bowl, with South Africa restricting Australia to 134 for 5 despite a late surge from the Australias. Bosch's career best knock helped South Africa chase down Australia's total of 135 in just 17.2 overs. Captain Laura Woolward also contributed with a composed 42 from 37 balls before being dismissed in the 15th over. Favourites Australia in their first ICC tournament after Meg Lanning's retirement missed key player Elisa Healy due to injury and ended their campaign in the semi-finals. Shooting now, Vivan Kapoor clinched a silver medal in the trap at the ISSF Shooting World Cup final in Delhi, marking a significant milestone in his career with his first senior individual medal. Scoring an impressive 44, Vivan secured second place in the prestigious event. In an exclusive interview with Narayan Singh, the young trap shooter said that this medal has significantly boosted his confidence.
Now I am joined by the young shooter Vivan. Vivan won silver medal in trap. Vivan, congratulations, a fantastic performance by you. So how you analyze the whole tournament and especially your event, what kind of competition was there?
So as you know, it was the World Cup final, and in the World Cup final the top 15 or the top 12 shooters of the world come to compete. So it was a big competition. The plan before the competition was very strenuous, where me and my coach went to Italy, went several places to train for this competition, and in the end I'd like to say that it came to play, and by God's grace you see me on the podium for India.
So it's your first individual medal at the senior level.
Yes.
You know that the transition from the junior to senior and winning a medal, how you can, what's the quantum of this achievement for you?
So I feel it's a first step of confidence for myself to have to win my first senior individual medal, and now so on and so forth. I have to work hard for my next competitions, and now the Olympic cycle is going to start. The quotas are going to start from 2026. I have a plan chalked out with my coach, and I'm just going to follow that.
What are the key reasons you find behind the stupendous performance of the Indian shooters on all mega fronts?
So I feel it's 3 things combined. First is support from the parents, from the government. Second is hard work, and third is talent. I think these are the 3 things that are making us Indian shooters do so well internationally and nationally as well.
So you can see that Vivan is saying that the way the support they are getting from all fronts, definitely it's a key reason behind the rise of the Indian shooting. With camera person Rahul, Narayan Singh, DD India, Delhi.
India's PV Sindhu completed a stunning comeback against People's Republic of China's Han Yu to march into the women's singles quarterfinals of the Denmark Open badminton tournament in Odense on Thursday. Sindhu conceded the opening game against her world number 7 Chinese opponent, but came roaring back to win the contest 18-21, 21-12, 21-16 in 1 hour and 3 minutes. Sindhu will face Indonesia's world number 8 Gregoria Mariska on Friday. And India Week is being celebrated at Al Suwaidi Park as part of the Riyadh season in Saudi Arabia. The event highlights Indian culture, cuisine and traditions, showcasing various activities and performances. Artists from the Indian community performed at the event. Take a look.
Together we will shine in this ride.
Alright, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.